Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Tistina deck profile. So I'm really excited to do some for you guys because this deck is an extremely fun deck to play that have included all sorts of spicy tech cards in this build for you guys. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name description in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of Demigod of the Tistina. This card is one of the most powerful cards in the entire deck. This card is a crazy powerful effect, and if you control a Tistina card, you can special summon this card in the hand, then you can add a Tistina spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which is an amazing ability. This card is not only a searcher, but it's also an extender. And also, during your opponent's turn, if you control a copy of Crystal God Tistina, quick effect, you can change as many cards your opponent controls as possible that are monsters to face down defense position, and then send all face-up cards your opponent controls to the graveyard, which is an absolutely amazing board-breaking effect. We then played 2 copies of Crystal God Tistina. Crystal God is really good as a 2-of in the deck, but it's super easy to get to, which is why we just played 2 copies of this card. This card is the exact same effect as your copy of Demigod, that during the main phase, you can change as many monsters your opponent controls as possible to face down defense position, then send all face-up cards your opponent controls to the graveyard, which is a really awesome ability. And if this card that you control, and it is actually destroyed by an opponent's card, you can do the exact same thing to change as many monsters your opponent controls as possible to face down defense position, then send all face-up cards your opponent controls to the graveyard, which is a really cool effect. But this card is a key combo piece in the deck, which is why we play 2 in the build, but it's a little bit of a break in the hand, but it's still really good in this deck. We then played 3 copies of Sentinel. Sentinel is really good as a 3-of in the build because this card is the ability, if this card's in the hand or graveyard and you control a light Tistina monster, you can special summon this card. You can also target a Tistina monster or a face down card that you control and destroy it, and then add a Tistina card from your deck to your hand, which is a really cool effect. This card is amazing in the build as a 3-of and one of the most powerful cards because it's actually a searcher in this build. We then play a single copy of Hound. I feel like you only need a single copy of Hound in this deck, but this card is amazing to help you OTK the opponent because this card is the effect that if this card's in the hand or grave and you control a Tistina card that's a light monster, then you can special summon this card. This card also has a really cool ability that Tistina monsters that you control can attack directly while your opponent controls a face down defensive monster, which is a really good effect. But I only think you need a single copy of this card because you're usually only summoning it out to be able to link it away or to be able to bring this card out to your side of the field so that you can swing in for game. We then played 2 copies of Returned. Returned is really good in the deck as an extender and helps you go in for a lot of awesome plays in the deck. As if this card's in the hand, you can target a Tistina monster that you control, accept another copy of this card, special summon this card, and then if you do, its level becomes the targeted monster's level, going in for the exact level that you need to go in for XZ plays. And if this card's in the graveyard, you can actually target an Aqua XZ monster that you control and attach this card as a material to that card, which is a pretty cool effect just to give it additional materials. We then play a single copy of Fallen of the Tistina. Fallen is really good as a 1-of in the build, but I only think you need a single copy of this card. This card helps us get to our field spell, which is really important, but it actually places it on our side of the field, which is amazing to be able to do because you can't even Ash Blossom this card, and it's really cool to help you instantly get to your field spell. We then played 3 copies of Speedroid Terratop. Speedroid Terratop is a really spicy tech card to be able to play in the decks. If you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand, and when it's normal or special summon, you can add a Speedroid monster from your deck to your hand, which is a really cool effect to be able to instantly get your copy of your Tekaton board, because then you can overlay both of these for your Armored XZ package, making it one of the most consistent engines to be able to play in the deck to just special summon out your copy of your Terratop, add Tekaton board from deck to hand, and then overlay for one of your Armored XZ cards, which is going to help you go in for the entire Dark Knight Lancer line, which is absolutely amazing. We then play 3 copies of Kashtira Fenrir. Fenrir is definitely a 3-of in the deck, because if you don't control a monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and it also has a really cool effect that during your main phase, you can add another copy itself from your deck to your hand. It also spot removes cards off the field, which is super helpful to be able to do, and it's just a really powerful card overall in the deck. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is really good in the deck just to basically stop your opponent from touching the deck, and a really awesome hand trap overall. And then we play 3 copies of Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler is really good in the build as well, just to stop your opponent's monster effects, and it helps out a lot in this build. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Armored XZ. Armored XZ helps out a lot in this deck to help you go in for your Armored XZ package. We then play a single copy of Play of the Tistina. Play is really good, but you again only need a single copy of this card, unless you special summon a Tistina monster from your hand or your graveyard in defense position, but return it back to the hand during the end phase. It's really good to be able to use to help you get your copy of Crystal God out on your side of the field, just in case it gets stuck in your hand, but I feel like one is really all you need. We then play 2 copies of Divine Domain by Tistina. Divine Domain is really good as a field spell, but you only need 2 copies in this build. And it has the ability, during your main phase, you can send a Tistina monster from your deck to the graveyard. Then, if your opponent controls 3 or more face-up cards, you can special summon a Crystal God Tistina from your hand or your deck. And you can only use the effect of this card once per turn. And if this card in the field zone is destroyed by your opponent's card effect, you can special summon a Tistina monster from the deck at the graveyard, which is an amazing ability because it almost guarantees that you're going to get your copy of Crystal God out on your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Breath of the Tistina. Breath is definitely a 3 of as well in the deck, but this card is one of the most powerful cards in the entire build because during your main phase, you can normal summon a Tistina monster in addition to your normal summoner set, which is an amazing ability to be able to use. Also, you can target a face-up monster that you control, or if you control a light Tistina monster, you can also target a face-up monster that on the field instead, and change that monster to face-down defense position, being an additional normal summon and a Book of Moon. Then you can actually add a Tistina card from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card, which is an amazing ability that is a Book of Moon and then a search, which is really cool. We then also play 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. Pot of Prosperity is really good because you don't need everything in the extra deck, so this card is really important in the build, just to help you dig into the deck for the exact card that you need. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start with a single copy of Discordance of the Tistina. This card is really good as a 1-of in the build, but I only think you need a single copy of this card, and I feel like this is probably the best of the Tistina trap cards. This card is able to you can activate one of these effects that if you control a Tistina monster, banish 1 card from your opponent's graveyard face down. But if you control a Tistina monster, special summon from the extra deck, meaning your copy of the Tistina, the divinity that defies darkness, you can actually banish your opponent's entire graveyard, which is absolutely amazing. This card is really good to be able to use in the deck to basically control the graveyard, but I really like this card in the deck as a 1-of. You can also banish this card in the grave to target a Tistina monster in your grave and add it to your hand, but you can only use 1 effect of this card per turn and only once that turn. With my single copy of Full Armored XZ, Full Armored XZ helps out a lot in the deck to help you go in for your Armored XZ package, and this card is one of the most important cards in the deck for your Full Armored XZ package. We then play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence is really good in the deck as a 3-of to basically just stop your opponent's monster effects and also lock down entire columns of spells and traps. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start with a single copy of the Divinity that Defies Darkness. This card is really good as a 1-of in the deck, and really good to be able to play in this build to be able to go in for game. As if this card is special summon, you can actually send all face down cards that your opponent controls to the graveyard. And you only effect this card once per turn. Then also once per turn, if this card has a copy of the Crystal God Tistina as a material, you can detach a material from this card, and this card gains 2,000 attack until the end of the opponent's turn, boosting this card to 4,000 to help you go for game. And if this card you control is destroyed by an opponent's card, while it has a material, you can special summon a Tistina monster from the graveyard, which is a pretty cool effect. Then play a single copy of the Final Bringer of End of Times. This card is a walking negate and can pop 3 cards, which is absolutely amazing. This card is one of the most powerful XZ monsters ever created, and definitely a one of the deck with how easy it is to make rank 10s in this build. Then play a single copy of Gustav Max. Gustav Max is just really good to help you burn for 2000, help you go in for game. Play a single copy of Juggernaut Leap to OTK. This card helps out a lot in the deck just as a 1-up to overlay on top of your copy of Gustav Max so you can swing in for 6k. Then play a single copy of Torpedo. This card is really good in the deck to be able to summon out your copy of your Terratop, search tag a Tomborg, overlay both of them for this, detach 2, draw a card, and then overlay a top copy of your Fortress. Fortress is really good in the deck because you can detach materials from this card and then add Armored XZ cards from your deck to your hand equal to the number of cards you detach, but you cannot use this card as an XZ material if this card has materials, which is a little bit of a downside, which is why I actually play 2 targets in the deck just in case we draw into one, because we want to make sure that we can detach materials from this card so we can actually summon out our copy of Full Armored Crystal Zero Lancer. Crystal Zero Lancer is really good in the deck as 1-up, basically just to give your copy of your Full Armored Dark Knight Lancer an additional material, and this card is our main boss monster of the extract outside of our copy of the Divinity that Defines Darkness. This card is really good in the deck as a 1-up to be able to use their Full Armored XZ package, and so easy to summon in this build. With a single copy of AA Zeus. AA Zeus is really good to help you board wipe the field. 1 copy of Typhon. Typhon belongs in just about every single deck, because if you go second, this card is absolutely broken. Like a single copy of Access Code. Access Code pops multiple cards on the field and comes out absolutely massive. 1 copy of Nightmare Unicorn to spin stuff. 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix to pop spells and traps. 1 copy of SP Little Knight just in case, because this card is really good in the deck. If you don't have this card, you can change it out for any other rank 10 XZ monster that you want to. You can change it out for Nightmare Cerberus. You can change it out for a copy of Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos. Whatever you want to change this card out for, you definitely can. But if you have this card, definitely play because it's a double interruption for the opponent. We might have a single copy of IP Masquerade. We can either make our copy of SP or Unicorn during the opponent's turn. So that's it for the deck, guys. I would enjoy it. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played a Tistina deck before, you should definitely give this deck a try because it's super fun to be able to play, and it's absolutely amazing to be able to flip your opponent's cards face down over and over again, essentially being able to play the Karma Cannon deck. So that's going to be for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.